All right, we are live now. So, hey folks, this is me, Vishwas Nair. I'm the host of this DevOps chat show. It's an honor for me to host youngsters like Pratik. It gives me an immense pleasure when somebody is evangelizing something the right way. Because a lot of times when we think of what is being architected right, probably there are some flaw in that, right? Probably something like, you know, there should be something called as a Gen Z way of thinking it. Like you should think as a millennial somehow. So they all say that, right? Millennials time and things like yes, it's a millennials time. Can't help it. We youngsters rule the market. Can't help that. So I think thank you so much, Pratik, for being on my show. Means a lot, brother. We met in a DSC meet. I think this is the worst thing that can happen is you get amazing peoples there. So yeah,
Yeah, sure. Hi,
thank you
Vishwas.
so much,
Thank you
Pratik.
for having me on this great show. I'm really excited for this show, and let's get started. While keep the public waiting, right?
Yep, let's get started. So, chaos engineering, what is it to the world today? So, how is world defining a solution on it? So, let's start with defining it. What is chaos engineering all about?
Well, chaos engineering, to get into a little bit of history, it was basically a concept that was very much new to the world in the recent years. It was basically started by a team in Netflix. Like, if you go into the history, that a proper chaos engineering setup was started by engineering at, or they still call it as a chaos monkey project, right? And the process of chaos engineering is to purposefully inject disturbance in your architecture of your company, right? And the purpose of this is to test the resilience of your team, your architecture, and to basically check that if the system goes down, what are your backups ready, right? It's a very big thing in today's world, that in fact, in case we have seen many multiple scenarios. Recently the Meta incident happened. There are nowadays, every day there is an issue with GitHub. Also, we saw recently that GitHub was not able to operate very well. So chaos engineering plays a very big picture in this. The reason being, people are already ready for the worst scenarios. That's what chaos engineering does. It prepares us and alerts us about the worst thing that can happen to your company or your software that is built.
I think that's the best part about it. So when we are talking about chaos engineering, of course, there is always a new need. What is it all about establishing and growing and maturing practices and cultures in the chaos engineering? What is it all about today when we are trying to pioneer ways in this technology?
Okay, so as far as now, chaos engineering has captured a lot of sectors in the tech industry. Basically, I have been working with chaos engineering in DevOps space, that was revolving around Kubernetes and Docker containers. So other than that, chaos engineering has took up, as far as I know, it has been taken up. There are products that are injecting chaos engineering in native applications, .NET applications. Then there are cloud applications. Mostly all the cloud applications have a tool that can inject chaos into them. Then there are databases. Suppose there are even I'm listening to this, that in many operating system they are starting to inject it, to see that if the server side operating system can take up the load or not. Sorry, sir, I can't hear you, I guess. Was I
So
audible?
I think you are
Yeah.
audible, but like
Okay.
yeah, fine.
Yeah.
So that was
Hmm.
your take. Like, why is it so short?
Okay.
So
So
yeah, I think to me when I think of organizations coming out with strategies in maturing the chaos engineering practices, it's also about like where can that engineering malware fit in, right? Let's
yeah.
say tomorrow there is a React guy very pragmatic about React and things like that. In order to actually make sure that a team evolves, there is something called as chaos involved. Everybody told Python is this, Python is that, but there were some packages which had RC executions which were happening, and there were some vulnerabilities. Of course, big way to solve it is learning from chaos. That's what I always feel about.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
can you learn from chaos? That's what DevOps is all about, according to me. When somebody asks me what is the actual definition of what is DevOps engineering, this DevOps engineering that, I would say like stop it, get some help, because
Yeah.
can you evolve in an institution? That's my take on it. So yeah, I think let's just answer this question on experimenting for beginners and practices, and anything that you can say as a cheat sheet for the chaos engineering and the learning path for it. Do What are the experiments that an beginner can do in order to understand the chaos engineering?
Okay, so chaos engineering, as I told, right now is in a very early stage that is there. If I am talking about beginners, very personally speaking, I have not seen many developers or beginners interested in chaos engineering. Right, there is a domain of cybersecurity people that are looking into engineering. But being in DevOps, I have seen that many beginners at least are not interested in chaos engineering, and that is, I would say, is not correct at all, because if you are learning something, you should not only learn how to build it. According to me, you should also learn how to break it down, because in that way you have the whole cycle. You know how to break it, you know how to build it. So that's a complete package. So for any beginner out there, it's very important to learn chaos engineering. So starting up, there are a lot of tools, right? If I'm talking in DevOps, obviously chaos engineering has a big role in Kubernetes cluster or AWS clusters. And the best way for any beginner would be to start with Litmus Kiosk. That I have worked on this project, so I'm not like an evangelist or advocate for the tool, but yeah, it's a pretty good. This I will put it on the chat if Vishwas can put it up. So this link will lead you to the Litmus Kiosk tool. It's a very well documented site. Even I have some code of it running on it. So it's very easy. If you have a cluster, I will try to right now show it to you that how this chaos engineering works on local clusters as well. And then once you have experience with Litmus Kiosk, it's very good. It's very well architected. The front end is pretty good. Like, I have tried many different chaos engineering tools, because once I was working in a fintech company, so at that time we were supposed to test out our architecture. So at that time I used different tools like Gremlin, then there was Grasshopper or something, I'm not remembering the exact name. But that time I had used some tools, so they were very basic on the software side, very basic on the code. But Litmus Kiosk gives you a lot of options that is there. So if any beginner wants to start with chaos engineering, first of all, obviously you have to read on it, that what it is and why is it necessary. I would not say you to directly go on to the hands-on, because that's obviously implementing without a knowledge is baseless. So first, I would say that get to learn something about it and then start to apply it. Other than that, if you want much more practice in it, there are different scenario based platforms like Kata Code that you can try out, or you can obviously go to some other articles, or these exist on Netflix architecture as well. I was stating earlier the chaos monkey thing, so they also have this.
Yeah, a quick note on all these things. Chaos engineering need not have to be a tool. This can
Yeah.
be a project that is running in your mind, and you are like, "Can I break it up?" After building it, that can also be a mindset. Trust me, because a lot of times when we think in terms of ML ops, we go through TensorFlow models, PyTorch models, this and that, and I'm like, let's convert it to TensorFlow Lite and see whether this can actually be compatible. Like Onyx is good. Let's just try TensorFlow Lite and things like that. That's a mindset that you need to get inside any organization. When once you don't know how you actually evolve in an organization, probably there is some new ways that you can break things, and there are new ways that you can actually strategize scaling. I think this is what chaos engineering gives. Irrespective of tools, I think strategy plays an important role here. If you want an immense aspect, I think Litmus Chaos is good. I just learned a lot about this technology. Just actually like more towards like, can we not try breaking in a CI/CD tool? Can you not breaking in that already existing culture? That also is a
Yeah.
matter of chance. That comes in. So my next question is, how is cloud native world evolving and practicing chaos engineering? How are they architecting new solution? How are these new CNCF ecosystem evolution happening? Because you see it like, it's like, oh god, there are 100 plus tools. What can you do with it? I'm like, some are graduated, some are not, some are getting funded,
Yeah.
some are getting nurtured. So there's a way in which CNCF ecosystem is coming up in the market. So what is your take on it when it's all about CNCF platforms evolving?
Okay, so if I'm talking about the CNCF projects that exist in the world, right? Chaos engineering effectively is important in all the project that exists. Not only I'm talking about the projects which are focusing on chaos engineering, whether it be chaos mess or litmus chaos, and some other projects that are included right now. Okay, it's not important for them only to focus on chaos engineering, but other projects that exist, they are also looking into it, because if suppose I'm talking about Elasticsearch, right? So if Elasticsearch has to, it's currently it's the industry standard, right? So most of the companies are using the ELK stack or the ELK stack. So until and unless ELK is very sure that their tool can withstand the traffic, the mess that can a company can take over. Until that is happening, ELK cannot be sure that this project will hold an industry level, organization. Suppose I'm talking to a bank, right? If I'm talking in a bank, logs are very important. Every single piece of data is very important, and at that point, at that point, if you are saying, okay, so in that scenario, if a single piece of data is lost, bank can face losses of millions or trillions, I also don't know. So in that case, these tools like ELK, Grafana, if I'm talking Fluentd, these tools have to be tested for chaos engineering, because we don't know how much traffic we can see. If I'm talking about right now, that again I'm talking to the worst situations that happen. So when Meta products went down, Twitter Twitter saw an immense amount of traffic, and I seriously have a huge respect for those guys, because the type of scaling that was incredible at that point, right? So until and unless they had that architecture tested, that literally the whole world came down to their platform, and still they managed to survive that. That is absolutely beautiful. So each and every tool that the CNCF platform is defining on its on the landscape that is there, so most of them have tested its software against chaos engineering. Those who have not, they are begging, not sorry, begging. They are actually, requesting developers to test their product out for the worst scenarios. If I'm talking to some of the products that I have seen, like Kumo Space, I have worked around with Kumo Space. I have tested Robusto or Dev. These tools are actually doing pretty amazing. But that again being said, that is my take on a personal level. I have not used it on an industrial level at that large scale. So how can I be assured that Robusto.dev can handle that traffic? The answer being chaos engineering. I can use Robusto.dev, I can use chaos engineering on it. And then I can be assured that yes, if I have to build something on that, yes, this can be my answer, because it can handle that kind of traffic that chaos engineering is injecting. So obviously it can handle my traffic as well. So most of the tools that CNCF are building right now, they are being tested against cloud native, chaos engineering. And yeah, it's going pretty good till now, MC.
Yeah, that's a huge stake that you take, right? You are betting on a tool, but can you bet on an engineer? That's
Yeah.
also there. That's
Yeah,
also there.
that's true.
That makes a huge sense, because when I always think about, will companies change mindset in hiring process? Something like, can they bet on something that a person can be than what he has been, right?
Yeah.
That is what is the essence of engineering problem statements. Most of it is more towards, can that guy architect a good solution? Yes. How? We need to teach him something. Can he architect next? And what if it's a chaos? Can we learn from it? Instead of firing him, can we learn from it? There is a huge demand for that also. Like, I think world needs to talk about it, world needs to evangelize it. So my next question is chaos engineering helping firms in a transformation? Is it also breaking things in production that is making us learn something about chaos engineering? Or else what is it all about according to you? Like, how are companies or the firms, like you told chaos monkey project is always there. You go
Hmm.
to you go to an amazing website on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's a shiny looking front end. Probably rendering takes a lot of time, but
Yeah, sure.
evolving that entire front end or the back end is also a part of engineering problem statement. So now it's all about the evolution. So how are companies using chaos engineering to evolve in their DevOps lifecycle or the SAST lifecycle?
Okay, so this is actually a two-part answer that I would like to give on this part. Like chaos engineering, as I told, is very much new to the industry space, right? If I'm talking about a bank architecture that has been set up for the last 10 years, at that time I was not even 10th pass. So if the company that has been running for 10 years, they are very much reluctant to try something out in chaos engineering, right? They are not ready to, test out this production at least. And obviously, if it was me, I was also not be trusted to give inject mess into it unwillingly, right? But then comes the second part that actually has benefit chaos engineering a lot. There has been a transition from monolith to microservices architecture, and it's happening all over the company. Okay, it's not only like software industries like Flipkart or Amazon. Even the bigger companies, the companies which have their system set up in Fortran, those are even in smaller pieces, trying to make microservices and trying to like, incorporate that into the industry, right? So how chaos engineering is helping in this is, if suppose I have a company that is running on a very big monolith architecture, and I have to now differentiate it into smaller packages, and I'm not sure that if it will all run together or not, or how it will be resilient or not. So most companies, what they are doing right now is that I have seen is that they are using, creating one microservices. They are checking their resilience with this chaos engineering, and then they are sure that okay, this piece of hardware, or sorry, this piece of software will run good and perfectly. Now we can integrate it to the bigger system. So this way, the microservices architecture has helped chaos engineering a lot, because once you have to break down something very big, and you have to maintain the original code as well. So you can't directly go and just swap the original one. You have to do it one at a time, one piece at a time. So in this scenario, chaos engineering has helped a lot, that if I'm creating a small service, suppose just to take the username and password from the user. So I don't know that that system will work independently good or not. How will I make sure that it works good? Answer being chaos engineering. If I have a small cluster running or a pod running that is only responsible for this, I will try to overload that pod. I will see that if this pod can independently take the traffic or not. Then I'm sure that okay, if it can survive chaos engineering, it will survive my traffic as well. And then I will deprecate the monolith architecture for that part, and then I will start using this microservice.
Yeah, like it's a bet that you do. Once you want to transition from a huge monolith to a microservice. Yes, you think about what is the uptime, what is the downtime, TTA, MTTR, SLI, SLOs, SLAs, you name it. DevOps matrices comes into the picture. It's something
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
nobody writes a report on why is this company flawed for its DevOps culture. As long as it's making money, as long as it's making perfect amount of impact, yes. What I saw in an Hotstar is something huge, right? Nobody saw a kind of a traffic which can be expected like that. Like,
Yeah,
can you expect a kind of a traffic like that? Like, even
no,
though
no.
you have an entire cloud cluster which is just architected for it, I think probably, on that, every time during the IPL, Hotstar gets the huge amount of respect. Like, that's how Hotstar is all about. Once you watch all of their talks, yes, it's always that. So I think Hotstar made a huge impact that day. Once the World Cup video came out from Gaurav Kamboj, and all these guys were AWS architects, so they knew
Yeah,
AWS. So of course they were experienced, but the company is new, right? Hotstar is a very new company, just now being taken by the Disney and things like that. So now my question is, can chaos engineering practices achievable from a firm of a new DevOps, like something like, there is a new DevOps culture that is just coming up in the market from that company. So something like, nobody knew Netflix would. If somebody asked me Netflix, why do you know Netflix? I say, Dave Han, DevOps team and Netflix. The way they strategize, Chaos Monkey, the five things that they learned from AWS. You
yeah,
name it. Like, that's what comes to me when I talk to any DevOps engineer about the Netflix. So can chaos engineering be learned and be achievable from a new team of DevOps or a new team of culture that is just coming up in a firm? And also, how can they bring in such a remarkable chaos engineering strategy in the market? Because most of the time, sometimes it goes unpublished or else unsaid. It's still an unsung song in the DevOps world. So nobody wants to say what are the DevOps strategy and the things like that. So can you can you just educate us in terms of, like, what does it take to enter in DevOps space with chaos engineering mindset, and also can new firms or the new DevOps team make a remarkable impact in the DevOps space?
So, Vishwas, I've always, believed in this, that DevOps in total is not a, job profile. It's more of a culture that company follows, right? It's not like one person decides how the company's software will be running. It's a total discussion that, a panel of senior architects sit down, even juniors are included, that, what's happening, how you're proposing to do stuff. If you have to change one little thing, if suppose I have to implement just one rule in a firewall, right? I cannot just go and switch that plug on. There has to be a huge discussion behind it, right? So DevOps is much like a culture and discussion that happens. And when I'm coming to chaos engineering practices, I'm telling you, it's a even deeper and longer conversation. The reason being, you're not only trying to build stuff, you're planning to how to break it, right? So these practices that any new firm that is getting into the DevOps space, chaos engineering discussions are very important, because if you're suppose your firm has never tested out DevOps, it's a new team of DevOps, right? Until and unless your team knows how to manage the worst times, like if suppose there is the main pod that is running the main API calls, right? If that goes down, if your team does not know how to handle that, they in a DevOps, it's not only important to construct the CI/CD pipelines. You have to make sure that the system keeps up and running. There are backup plans. Even you don't have to turn it on. Like if your backup plan is that if the pod goes down, I'll just kubectl and restart it, roll out it. That's a bad plan. Your plan should go automatically, and there should not be only one plan. There has to be backup of backups, that my boss used to say, right? So chaos engineering practices are very important in the new DevOps team, because obviously if it's a company that is transitioning into DevOps, I'm very sure that they will face a lot of errors, right? Yeah, chaos engineering will bring more errors to the table, but that errors are necessary to handle. Because if suppose your product is totally dependent on the DevOps team now, and they don't know how to manage these times or these situations where actual this problem comes up, then that will be a much more problematic task than right now, right? Okay. Okay. Sorry, Vishwas, your mic is off if you're trying to speak.
Sorry, this happens in
Yeah.
live show. Can't help it.
Yeah. Sure, sure.
So all right, folks. Like more of the thing is like, can we add stress to a system which is already working? Like, your brain is good. Somebody comes up and says, you know what, your girlfriend is shit. I'm like, fuck, oh god, damn it, what is wrong with you? That's a stress at the end of the day. That's a psychological stress that you add. Like, you don't need to add it. Like when you're cool and fun, like, okay, fine, I know that. What can I do? Done. So that's a D. That's a commitment that you have with that person. I think probably you need to be committed to that DevOps culture as well. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it's all about. So now stress testing. Stress testing a cloud environment is what we always talk towards in the chaos engineering, because something as good as, let me just say, Tesla
Yeah.
is huge. Tesla is creating huge amount of market. But yes, let's imagine the cloud server goes down. What's your backup strategy? What's your redundancy? What's your strategy in actually making sure that the transition happens from onboard autonomy, from on cloud autonomy to onboard autonomy? That's what it's all about. So I think it's all about strategizing the right way. So stress testing a cloud environment. How can this give a new approach to folks when they want to learn about the environment? So what are the insights that they can learn about that environment? So like, let me be very frank. I had an code repository which had some 3 to 4 secrets which were out, and they were very crucial, by the way. They were very
Right.
crucial, tenant IDs and things like that. Like
Yeah.
some guy really didn't know what to get ignore or stash onto the system, and
Right.
he has put it inside. I'm like, what? That's how it is. So
Yeah.
what is it all about, stress testing, and how can organizations learn from that?
Okay, so stress testing obviously is a 2 to 3 day task that happens in any kind of company or a team that I've seen. When stress testing is going on, all the people, all the folks in the DevOps team and SRE team have to sit down together. That this thing is happening and we have to be ready for it. And stress testing actually usually goes through the night, right? It's not a thing that happens during the day. Yeah, this can give a very good approach to, chaos engineering can give a very new approach to stress testing, is because suppose there is a person, right? If suppose there is a new product manager, right? He or she does not know the architecture of the company in and out, but yet they want to check the, response of their team. They want to check that, how many members are actually aware with the product, whether the environments, the sandbox, or whatever the three environments or four environments your company has. So obviously chaos engineering will help those people out a lot, that you can just go ahead, alert the team that, okay, I'm going to shut down some random functions suddenly, and you have to work that out. And this is a good example that I saw in an AWS training. So in AWS, I was in a training known as AWS Jam. So that's a 3 to 4 hours competition, right? So what used to happen, that we were sit clubbed in a group, and we were given scenarios where different services of AWS were down, and we were given a problem statement that you have to fix that. The best part of AWS Jam was that there is always a direct approach to take a problem, right? Just go and switch that button on, or just switch that toggle off. And what AWS Jam was all about, that they used to turn off that option. Like the direct approach was always turned off. So you have to think your way around it. That, okay, if CloudWatch is not bringing me the logs, so it's not because CloudWatch is not integrated. They have purposefully shut down some other services behind CloudWatch. So this chaos engineering is very helpful in that, because randomly things are shut down, right? You also don't know what's the direct way to deal with it. So until and unless you know the whole architecture in and out, it's a good learning for you to get the core problem, what's happening. If suppose a company goes and directly applies chaos engineering to their system, obviously no one will. But yeah, sandbox can be done. If suppose I'm talking to a team of beginners or interns, right? So if I have a sandbox environment, I go ahead, I apply chaos engineering and tell them to fix it now. It will be a good learning for the whole team, because even the manager, even the lead architect will be a little bit clueless what's the main reason behind it. And it's a very good learning for the new teammates to learn every system or services that are running up. That will help them a lot. And yeah, chaos engineering will, at least for beginners, I think that it's a very good option for learning stress testing.
Now, can you share some insights on the tools today? Because we talked a lot about technology. The
Yeah,
software
sure, sure.
engineering there, probably you need not have to know everything about Java, but can you know the crucial part about Java? Let's say there was a JVM issue at one point of time. Log4j, Spring4 Shell, you name it, CV is being raised. Like it's like 9 January or something, and there was CV 2022 already coming out. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Like people are so agile that they want to add so much into the infrastructure. So are there any tools and the technology that everybody needs to focus on, like some of the tools that anybody who can have some insights about and they can start working towards?
Okay, if I have to talk about tools that today chaos engineering is not talking about, so obviously, as I told you, that chaos engineering has, got into each and every framework of software that is existing. If I'm talking about Node.js applications, then there is chaos engineering. If I'm talking about Spring Boot applications, then there is chaos engineering. But being from a DevOps space, I have mainly encountered all the chaos engineering tools around Kubernetes. So first there will be Litmus Chaos. That's a very good tool that I mentioned earlier also. Then there is Grasshopper, something I remember, and then there's Gremlin. All three are very good. There are there are certain limits in the later two, I would say. Whereas Litmus Chaos, the best thing about Litmus Chaos is you can tailor your chaos engineering needs. If suppose you know how your architecture is set up, you can write down actual YAML configurations, and then you can deploy it. So it will be much tailor made. I would much rather show it in the presentation right now, if that's fine.
Sure, sure.
Sure, man. I'll go ahead, share my screen. I will. So, the motto of this right now is that I will spin up a cluster. I will show you how to install chaos, how to inject chaos somewhere. And obviously, I cannot show it exact demo on my personal laptop because this session won't be happening after that. So I will
Yeah.
just I'll show you how it works, how the all the architecture and other stuff is, and then we'll be talking more on the way. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Vishwas, let me know when my screen is visible.
Sure, sure, I'll say that. Perfect.
Okay,
We
is it
can
visible
see
now?
your screen. Yeah, yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so I'm working on this kind cluster right now. I'll just spin up a kip cluster right now, and we'll also open K8 lens. Okay, where is it?
Linux is the best part of DevOps, like
Yeah,
Solaris, evolution of Solaris.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Kubernetes itself is very much fascinating to me if I speak. The way
yeah,
the monolith used to be and the way Kubernetes did it, it's pretty amazing. Like no one thought that this would be possible someday, right?
yeah. Like it's an evolution from Borg and Omega, right? They had two
Yeah,
softwares running. Google had two softwares running.
yeah.
I think,
And
yep,
this,
done.
okay, so we have our kind cluster up and running. Let's connect it. Let's see that it's okay. Till that time, we'll go to here. Okay, so this is the tool that I was talking about, Litmus Kiosk. We'll get into how to inject this. It's pretty much straightforward. You go to the tutorials, you have the main page, you go to the tutorials. Over here, you can go to getting started. So there are pretty well instructions that are given. You can read the introductions over here, right? And let's get started, right? So here we just create a Litmus namespace. We can either use okay, so first I'll use it Helm only because that's pretty much standard, right? Okay, let's install Litmus now. So Helm is like the package manager of Kubernetes cluster, right?
Kubernetes
If
cluster.
yeah, so if you are a person who is familiar with apt, the homebrew,
App get
or
updates.
yeah, apt-get updates.
Chocolatey.
Yeah, chocolatey, Windows people chocolatey, and for God's sakes, I don't know why, but people still use Snap. I I don't know why, but okay. So there are two options to install Litmus as of now. So first, you can install it using Helm, that is the package manager for Kubernetes. Or what you can do is you can create a manifest that these folks have on their website. So here you can, that's a pretty simple YAML that you can directly go and apply over there. So let's see that if our cluster has Litmus or not till now. Okay, so we have clusters up and running. Okay, they are still initiating in the phase. Okay, okay, they are still initiating. We'll just check it on Kubernetes Lens. This is a pretty great tool, man. You have used this Gate Lens.
Yeah, yeah. There
If
was
I
a
have to
point
talk
of
to
time in
a
my paper writing journey where I was like, can I get some tools, and Lens was the one.
yeah, it's actually very much good for beginners, right? When I'm talking to
Yeah.
beginners, I've seen that there is a fear of CLI, right? I
Ha,
also used
yeah.
to have it, to be very honest. Like when I was also starting with my journey, there was an what to say, there was a hesitation that break shifting into CLI might break my
CLI
system. I
might
don't
break
know
my
what will
system.
happen. Yeah, so
Yeah,
this
like that worst fear of first comes up with Anaconda, right?
true, man, true.
On Linux,
So
something like you don't know, you suddenly install RStudio. Like I had it, okay. Like in my
yeah.
first year, we had this Linux thing, okay, fine. Now I installed RStudio and none of the Python things are working. I'm like, what is this? Then we didn't know that we had to create a new environment, right? It's all
Yeah.
chaos, chaos,
Yeah,
chaos that we
exactly,
all started
exactly.
learning.
It's very there is a pretty interesting thing at least for the MacBook users. There will be in this Docker desktop exists, right? Docker
Hmm.
desktop has an option for Kubernetes now. Even they
It
have
doesn't
started.
have now, but like it used
Okay.
to have it, but they lost the
Yeah.
support for it.
Okay. I'm not very sure that they lost the support because recently they started this. What was that? Uh,
No, it was
uh,
there before, but like yeah,
okay.
like once you think about where they were actually like lagging was like, when you see that like the bug bounty program for Kubernetes, it's like YAML files are more vulnerable than what you think. So I
Okay.
think that is where actually Docker lost the support for the Kubernetes. Like even if you see the Docker desktop, yeah, I think probably it might not come on Windows, but probably on Linux it should be.
Yeah, on Linux they recently rolled out Docker Desktop, and that has the
Yeah,
support for Kubernetes as far as I remember.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I was talking to
I think
one
there
of the
is talks
Docker
going
captains.
on. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
There
okay,
is
so
there is no support for the newer ones. So yeah, there is no support
and
for
like
that.
obviously the people who are good at Kubernetes or CLI, they will not be very much interested in a GUI for anything. But yeah, for beginners,
Yeah,
I always say this, for a beginner, it's a good practice with GUI. It's less more uncomfortable, I would say, and it's a good point to start. If I'm talking about whether it's be GitHub, whether it be Docker, whether it be Kubernetes, it's a good point
yeah.
to have. So coming back to
Hey,
the GUI,
yeah, like
yeah, man.
I would say a last thing because
Yeah, yeah.
Kubernetes support is there, but I would say I think probably using a cloud managed Kubernetes is much more better and easier
Mhm.
than putting something on your laptop through your
Yeah, yeah.
laptop, right?
Huh,
Like
that is true.
that's a no brainer by the way. Like you need,
That is very true.
it is much more optimized than what you can do with the on system Kubernetes.
That is very true. That is very true, man. Like that is the reason why many people still have their EKS cluster or GKE cluster. They don't have that
Yeah.
Kubernetes on-prem.
Yep.
Yeah. So okay. So coming back to the GUI, as I was telling, that for beginners, GUI is a great help. So we are talking about the great GUI that Litmus Kiosk provides us. So you just have to come to the portal. That was, let me show you. So in the services, there will be a front end service that is there. This is actually an Nginx server. So this can actually just go ahead, port forward this, or you can write it down on your terminal as well. But I'm showing it through the this terminal, sorry, GUI only, so that everyone can follow, even if people are not very much aware with the Kubernetes commands. So you just have to port forward this, and you will just log in over here. It's the admin Litmus. Every tutorial is very well explained over here. Everything is well explained. So okay, we have everything up and running, I think. Skip for now, and yes, so we have the Litmus dashboard. Okay, so this is where all the chaos engineering things can be monitored from your side. If you are doing anything on your cluster, you will get the information of it on this. You can add users as well. There are many options that they provide, but let's stick to the basics ones right now for this session, and let's see. Okay, so we'll go on to this. So you see chaos agents. So where we have chaos agents. So this is still starting up. This is the self agent that actually will go and do all of our dirty work that we say them to do. So this is actually what to say a client Go library that runs behind. This is known as subscriber, but let's not get too messy into this. So we'll have to wait until this happens, I guess. Yeah, it's still not up. This will take some time. Okay, till that time, I can show you one more thing. That is the Chaos Hub. Okay, so this is what I was trying to say.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, and those
yeah,
Arc support is there?
there is a lot of support. I have not even explored all of them, man. It's so many. Like it's
So
not all
many.
mentioned over here.
I
Yeah,
think
this is
yeah,
the Chaos.
Kafka is already there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kafka is there, man. I saw somewhere Kafka. Yeah, this is
Yeah, yeah, Kafka.
Kafka.
Yeah.
Yeah, Open EBS is there, QAWS is there. Yeah, see, there are different also, like EC2 terminate by tag, EBS loss by ID, EBS loss by tag. So there are many things that comes into this.
I
Even
think these
VMware
are
has,
some automated tests which are already generated,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Like Litmus has support for this.
Stress
Even if I'm,
testing.
yeah, stress testing. So GCP, they have Azure, even Azure they have added. That's great to see. Cassandra, because Cassandra is also taking up this by storm now.
No,
So
it
there
was
are
actually
different.
taking in Storm, but like Cassandra, I think actually Storm was actually the Apache Storm was actually good, but once
Yeah.
they started migrating more towards Cassandra, that is where the challenges came in, right? But now when they understood what Cassandra is, yeah, perfect.
I have a very funny story till we wait for the chaos agent to get active. Okay,
Yeah.
Acha, I will complete my story. So the thing was that when my first when I first heard about Cassandra, so I was a newbie, right? And there are
Hmm.
many services. I cannot remember all of the name. So one of the day, my manager goes and tell that Pratik, go and do this with Cassandra. Okay, and I thought that Cassandra was some of my colleague, and I was searching her on Slack. That okay, where is Cassandra? I can't find her. I text my boss like, "Hi sir, what's her name or what's her Slack ID? I cannot find her." So he's like, "No, no, it's a different
It
service that
happens.
is
It
there."
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Okay, so we have
Apache
this up and running.
Storm.
So let's see what the documentation says, how to run this. So we will not run actually, because if we run, we won't be having this scheduler workflow. Okay, so we just select the agent. That is the self agent that we have created. That is created. Create. There are multiple options, man. You can, in fact, as I was telling that, there are tailor needs that you can fulfill. So if you have to import a workflow of YAML, you can upload it over here, drag and drop, select YAML from your device, create workflow if you want to, whatever. There are multiple options that exists. Right now, if I have to go with, I will go with potato, and I will not apply it. But yeah, this is one to see the options. So Litmus will be the namespace by default, obviously.
Got it.
Okay. And the best part, best beauty of chaos engineering is, chaos engineering is not all about just, breaking stuff. It breaks stuffs, it reverts the changes, and then gives you a consolidated report, what broke down actually. And that's a very good insight for any kind of company, whether you be a small startup or whether you be a banking service that running on an international level. But that's a good thing to have, man, because until and unless when traffic hits, or when actual bad scenarios happen, what is the service that is going down? So this is there, and see, this is the beautiful part of this. They have this everything in a very, the front end is amazing, widely amazing actually. So they actually tell you how it's happening. The whole workflow is there. If you have to change or edit anything, you can do that. So let's not 10 points. There is the what to say, load that you want this to happen, like how much impact you want the chaos workflow to create on your cluster, right?
Got it.
So we
I
check
think
that.
probably something like stream processing was never thought until Lambda and Kappa architecture was thought, right?
Yeah,
Like
actually,
what
that
is
was
offered
thinking.
from Cassandra is just a DB, an
Yeah.
OSQL DB. MongoDB is also there. But now next you think of Storm, Apache Storm coming up, like
Yeah.
something similar to Kafka, but I think I can say a story about Kafka. Kafka was more towards like when LinkedIn was pops up, they didn't want to do that, but now they wanted to stream service. So now Kafka was born. That became Apache Kafka. Then it became Confluence Kafka.
That is a great tool, man. Kafka is also doing great. If I have to say, I see a lot of potential. If I'm talking about databases, I have to say that Redis is also going great. That the support
Yeah,
Redis is
caching.
bringing in, in caching, it's great. It supports all kind of databases. That's like saying a database that can manipulate any kind of database, whether it be graph databases, real-time databases. Then there is
Yeah,
SQL, NoSQL. That's all. It's all integrated in one, and that's a very good database to have right now in any kind of architecture.
sure.
Okay, I think this will, yeah, sure. This is also a good thing that you can schedule actually, that when you want to do chaos engineering, if you want it to happen in 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, then you can schedule it at that time. I will not verify this. Okay, so before committing, this is what, and if I finish it, I will start it. Let's hope that my computer does not switch off. Okay, new workflow is created. Go to the workflow. Let's see the workflow. See, this is the best part. You see everything happening in a GUI basis. So if there are beginners out there, they can see the resilience scores, status, and if there is any changes happening, they can see it.
Yep.
If there are any changes happening, they will show it now. Like going down, you see there are
I.
services that have started to go down. So
Oh God,
yeah,
chaos
so this will
engineering.
happen because yeah, I would have done it on a bigger scale if it was a cloud cloud one, but obviously it's my laptop, so let's leave it out of the picture right
Let's
now.
yeah, like suddenly when the when the computer was you didn't have a sound for a while, right? It was
Yeah.
silent, and I was like, oh god,
Okay.
what happened?
Okay. It actually happens, because the reason being it puts a lot of pressure on the
Workflow.
laptop. Yeah, the workflow puts a lot of pressure. Once I did this, when I was in the starting phase of this chaos engineering. So what I did was I had a Prometheus setup, I had Grafana setup, I had the whole big screen on my computer, right? And then I
Mm,
tested it on 10 points. The
mm,
best part was it that the computer ran for like 98% of its memory, and then it
mm.
suddenly switched off.
Yeah, yeah, it happens when the memory overload happens.
Yeah, man, it was great. The graph was going crazy. That was a lovely picture to see. I have terminated the workflow right now. Okay, so this is also one good thing that they have, induced right now.
I think
They
can we actually annotate the artifacts also, like the YAML files, the Kubernetes and
yeah,
everything? Can we annotate
yeah.
the chaos that has been faced here, like
Uh,
documenting it?
we can document it, I guess. Wait a second. Sorry, what do you want to do exactly, Vishwas? I didn't got the question.
Like let's say something like let's say there is a Cassandra database which is coming up, and the database
Okay.
schema is evolving, right? The
Okay.
schema keeps evolving and things like that. So can
So,
we have a version control for all those things? That's my question.
version control for all those systems, I'm not very sure, but yeah, if
No,
I'm
no, I'm
saying,
asking you in terms of we
yeah,
annotate the artifacts, right? We annotate the artifacts,
yeah, we
but
can
like
actually.
we can annotate the artifacts, right? That's the only question
Mhm.
that I asked. Like something
Yeah,
like
yeah, we
annotating the
can.
artifact.
Yeah, we can. Wait a second, I will just show you. So there is this example of the YAML that is actually being applied when suppose you are
Yeah,
doing the Cassandra pod delete one. Okay, so this is what is happening. Actual thing that is happening. So if you want something according to your needs of your architecture, you can actually go and help this out. There are many good what to say examples that these Litmus Chaos folks provide, and they have a good what to say Slack channel as well. So if you have to do something on your tailor needs, you can go and ask them that if you're facing some issue, you can actually go and ask them that how I have to do this. They'll surely help you out. Wait a second.
sure, sure.
Okay, wait a second. There was one article on that as well. The tutorials are very well written there. Yeah, here is it. I was telling you, coming soon. Creating custom chaos
I think you
workflows.
can actually remove some tabs so that it doesn't become an overload.
Yeah, exactly. That we can, but that has to be done then on the Kubernetes level. On here also we can do,
No, no, I'm
but that
saying
would
it tabs so that it doesn't affect you, the stream.
okay. Okay. Actually, right
Don't
now I
remove the
don't have it.
StreamYard tab. I think if you don't want to
Okay.
use that, just delete it off.
Right now the chaos workflow is not running because I just stopped it.
All
I
right.
don't
Oh,
know.
all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. I stopped it. I stopped it, man. I wanted to complete the stream.
Oh, yeah, that's obviously there, right? I think, yeah, I
uh,
think you can show us the tutorial. Yep, that would be awesome.
yeah,
You stopped it. So, yeah, I think
yeah.
fine. Oh, God.
Okay, to the screen. We are
Yep.
back.
We are back, folks. We are back, and I'm very thankful that
Yeah.
he just took a huge risk just for the stream. You know, there's a huge demand for this thing in the market. I'm not even joking because um,
True.
your company can offer such kind of a compute, but you can't afford that. It might be i7, it can't be afforded at one given cost. Like it takes its own time to come back to a system and things like that. I think Pratik, thank you so much, brother, for being on the stream. Means a lot. And I think chaos engineering demo is awesome. Like I've now started working on it. Like now
Sure,
I've
man.
started learning
Yeah.
about all these things. So I think this was a great start for me. And thank you so much, Pratik, for giving this stream. And also being on my show means a lot to me, brother.
You are doing great work, man. Keep it up. You are, you're advocating machine learning as well as DevOps. It's helping a lot of developers out there, beginners out there. If there is someone coming to me and saying that, I want to learn DevOps, I want to learn machine learning,
Yeah.
that I have to learn machine learning, and I've already not so you'll get to learn a lot.
Sure. Sure.
It was
I
great,
think
man.
thank you
Thank you
so
for having me on
much.
the show.
Thank you, brother. We'll end the show. We'll end the broadcast. Thank you so much